going to different places and stuff, we see a lot of plaques from a lot of different tattoo conventions in here. Any places in particular stand out for you? Any cities or states?
I have a top 3 right now.
Okay, what you got?
Number 1, just because like it's my home, is New Mexico Tattoo Fiesta in Albuquerque. That's run by like Bale from Corvida, and you have a lot of like old school tattoo artists showing up.
Okay.
Like I've had like Lyle Tuttle come up to my booth and like stop me tattoo and be like, "Hey, can I come and look?" And then you're just like starstruck, you know what I mean? And
Right,
like
legends.
come in and be like, "Oh, that's really cool," and you're just like, "Wow," you know, Jack Rudy. One time I tattooed the entire convention next to Freddie Negre. You know what I mean? Like it's just an epic amount of artists there, and it's run really, really well. It's focused on artists, like convenience and like actually what a convention to me should be about.
Right.
And sharing and learning and networking and all that.
Okay.
Second would be New Zealand, because you know New Zealand's fucking awesome. That convention also is put on largely and supported by the guys who do the Lucky Tattoo Supplies out in New Zealand, which they have like no tattoo supply company out there. That's another wonderful, wonderful show. That's a show that you go to this little tiny town, and they open on a Saturday, but let you work privately on a client on Friday. But when you open on Saturday, there's a line down the road. It's like at a horse track, down out the horse track and down the road, and people just go in there. I mean, and these are another like crazy caliber of tattoo artists that like whenever I'm there, I'm just like, oh, I like feel so like just like a kid in a candy store. I want to run up and watch all of you tattoo.
Right.
Last year I was there, I was watching Steve Butcher do this giant Joker piece, and he had taken a break. His client was standing, and I went over and I looked at it, and I got like halfway through it, and I'm like looking at everything, studying it, and I just hear like this voice over my shoulder, like, "God, it fucking looks like shit, doesn't it?" And I was like so offended. I turn around and it's fucking Steve Butcher, of course. And it's like I'm just like, oh man, Jesus. Now I don't know what to say. Like, no, it doesn't look. It looks beautiful. Dude. You know, it's like that type of show. It's beautiful. The next one would be in Eugene, Oregon, the Evergreen Tattoo Invitational.
Wow, Eugene, Oregon.
Yeah,
I've never heard of it.
That's a little small town about an hour and a half south of Portland. That is put on by Joshua Carlton, because that's where Joshua Carlton tattoos.
Okay.
And again, an incredible show, aimed for the comfort and like progression of artists.
Nice.
So there's 2 days of seminars. Last time I was there, I took a seminar and got to listen to Pooch tell me that I was a fucking asshole for not knowing so many things, and it was just like that type of like level of inspiration you want to hear from real artists that are like incredible. And you're like, yeah, but you don't know this, like you're a fucking asshole. So get to know these things. Yeah. And then you have like Joshua Carlton running around, and he doesn't. I don't know him, and I'm like not really anybody or whatever. And he's like, "Can we get you some Red Bulls? Can you want to try this new thing out? Like, I'm gonna go get it for you to check out." And then there's like a little area for like artists to eat all day. Nice. They have like 3-course meals running in the back. And you're just like looking at a mountain.
Yeah.
You know, so definitely my top 3 favorite.
Okay, I can see.
Highly recommend any of
Yeah.
those shows.
I can see why all of those sound very dope there. And you mentioned quite a few tattoo artists, and that's who you know kind of been mentors for you and inspired you, and that's very important to have as well. So anybody at this time, like any new up and coming artists that you see that Are you inspired by the newer artists, the younger artists that's coming up at this time as well?
Yeah, it's something that, like, you know, I have to say that my mentor taught me constantly to be inspired by other artists. I eventually was mentored by Jesse Flores, who was like one of the, you know, oldest tattoo artists in Milwaukee, tattooing right out the gate when it became legal. And, you know, to me, I guess any artist that really stands out, that'd be super inspiring. That's a tough one.
Or even if you can't think,
there's so many, and there are like so many big names out there.
and I was gonna say, even if you can't think of a particular name at this time, what is it about maybe, you know, like the newer generation's work that kind of stands out? Like, is it, or is it just always the quality? Just the quality just has to be there, regardless. New, old, you know, line work, everything is tight.
I guess one name that comes to mind for a newer tattooer would be Bobby Caparo. He is just a very energetic individual who just, like, you know, he has that attitude of like, I'm just gonna do this, and like he works super hard. He has a great work ethic, and he takes risks that are very admirable. You know what I mean? Like, he works at one of the coolest shops in New York, Love Machine, and just as an individual himself, he's like super, super funny, and you want to be around him. You know what I mean? Like, so in the tattoo industry, a lot of people want to see you like pay your dues and put in work before like you can be recognized or whatever. But Bobby like breaks that by being such a likable, like driven, you know, like ethically sound person, that it's just okay, because it's just that fucking good, and he's just like not an asshole.
Even if you wanted to not like
him,
you
just can't not like him. You know what I mean? So I think like
he's a good spirit.
Yeah, and you see that in a lot of younger tattooers now, which makes it like very easy. You know, where traditionally it really didn't matter what you were doing or how nice you were. You were a young tattooer and you just stay in your place. But that's not to say that the older tattooers are wrong in thinking that or teaching us that. But I think that inspiration and like that mindset of like keeping it open, and like what Jesse taught me, like definitely like shows, and just being like, I want to put that aside. Bobby's been tattooing for a few years and like is super incredible, super successful, working at this crazy shop, and I just want to like love and support that and look up to it, even though I may have been tattooing that many more years longer than him. Like it's just, I don't know, it's a great place that our industry is in now, where an older tattooer can look at a newer tattooer and be like, I want to be like you.
That's amazing.
You know?
Okay. And that led directly into my next question, would be, what's something that you'd like to see going forward in the tattoo industry?
Cool. I like most of what's happening, honestly, through like unity in certain areas. Like Milwaukee, we have like this crazy community of tattoo shops and tattoo artists, where like it's not really a competitive thing as much as it is like a constant support all over the place. You know, like when I first was tattooing, I was getting clients in that tattooers in this city were sending to me. You know, like they'd be like, yeah, like Matt Stolzenberg told me to come and see you and get tattooed. You know, and that like a lot of the times, like that doesn't really exist in a lot of places. That it's like competitive in nature. You know? And I'd like to see that more throughout our industry. You know, supporting other artists in your city, you know, sending recommendations for things that like maybe you're not interested in, or that's not what you're particularly focusing on at the time.
Right.
Not only like it strengthens your integrity as an artist, but it also like lends to the industry as a whole to support other artists.
Right.
You know, so I want to see more unity.
Okay.
Less competitive nature and more of a supportive nature.
Okay.
You know,
Definitely some good things right there. Good things to aspire to for anybody, for society as a whole, and the industry in particular. So I was speaking of industry things. How has the coronavirus changed or modified the way that you do business, that the shop does business? I would imagine it was a significant impact, just like the world felt.
it was a huge, like, in the beginning, like, is this really happening?
Right.
Type of deal. And once we kind of figured out that it was a thing, you know, we got shut down just like the rest of the world did. That impacted a lot of us because we suddenly were unable to make money.
Right.
And we were, you know, for me, like, I got no government assistance or loans or whatever, so we were dependent upon like making t-shirts and selling prints or doing raffles. Like, the story of the Tattoo 2020 raffles is never gonna go away. Like, that's gonna be a fucking Monday malarkey joke forever. You know what I mean? Like, I know plenty of tattoo artists that fed their family on raffles during that time, during closure. But the coronavirus is an ever evolving and, like, you know, situation that a lot of us need to be conscious of and empathetic for those that, you know, are at risk. Even though you may not be at risk, like, it's just good safety and practice. And I think that rings well within the tattoo industry in itself, where we're already dealing with bloodborne pathogens. We take so many steps to prevent any cross-contamination.
Right.
So taking an extra step recommended by the, you know, medical science community to prevent any kind of sickness from going between person to person, like, is just kind of logical in our industry to me. So just kind of sticking with that and moving forward with it, you know.
So it just kind of already took what you already kind of had going as far as the safety measures, just kind of to the next level.
Yeah.
Evolved it.
It definitely takes our safety precautions to the next level, you know. So that's a very hard question for sure.
Right.
You know, because it definitely, there's a lot of different views upon it. And us here in Milwaukee, basically all of us have pretty much adopted the idea that we're just going to listen to that, because we're not scientists.
Right.
And it doesn't really affect us too much to just wear a mask or, you know, stay home if you've been around somebody who's sick or whatever. You know, and that keeps a lot of us safe.
Right.
So,
yeah, that's true.
but what we have also seen is a huge support from our clients and from our supporters through it.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't had one client like get upset with me about having to push like an appointment 4 or 5 months out from when it was. Like, this appointment was supposed to happen in April. You know,
right. That was right in the middle of the start of the pandemic situation. So,
and like we just have gotten an incredible amount of support from clients. I think that's really important. You know what I mean? If you like tattoos, you want them to be tattooed, and you know, you support the industry like that as a collector, I think it's important to just be very kind to your artist or a tattoo shop and patient and just continue that love and just listen to them, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I've seen a lot of that. That's been like really, really cool through all this.
Okay.
It's just feeling that level of support from clients and understanding and patience has been incredible.
So actually, some good things kind of came out from the situation for you. You got the chance to experience a lot more love, it sounds like, and to really know that, you know, your clients and people, you know, love and are willing to support, and that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So finally, man, to close it out, you was kind of telling us earlier about this kind of a pretty wild story, a little funny story that you was telling. So could you just let our audience in on the funny tattoo story you was telling us about earlier?
Yeah. So I think this is just a personal experience of mine, and it's also been just one that like has been, you know, very important to me. I was in a convention in Albuquerque, and I sat down to like do my tattoo or whatever, and I had a booth behind me, you know, and they're like playing like some music or whatever, and I'm like, oh, I'm at a convention. This happens. This is normal. This is a thing that is okay.
Right. It's music there, I thought, you know.
Yeah, and me being my like manic self was just like getting distracted and getting like, you know, a little irritated. So I was like, you know, I'm gonna go around and like just be like, hey guys, can you just whatever turn it down? Because that's a respectful thing, I guess, right? And I go around and it's like Big Sleep's booth, Big Me's booth, and Norm's booth. And right away,
You wasn't expecting that.
yeah, right away I was just like in my head like, oh, to turn it up. Like, yeah, turn it up. Like my emotions, like I don't matter in this moment. Like,
Right.
and I caught Norm's eye and said what's up to him. You know, I bought machines from him for a few years. Always talk to him. He's incredibly nice dude to talk to, and just was a very, very good person to know and to network with back in, you know, when he was around. And I always wanted to get my eyelids tattooed for him. It's like the script God to me, you know. So I asked him, I'm like, hey man, do you have some time this weekend to tattoo my eyelids? And he was like, kind of like a little standoffish about it. He asked me what I wanted. I told him I want to get hellbound, and then he was like super about it. So I was like, all right, let's schedule it. Let me know when you're free. Come back around. And we kind of left it at that. I went back to my booth and I listened to their music very happily, and tattooed. And I was like, I was extremely busy the whole weekend, you know.
Okay.
And Sunday finally came around. I put my stencil on my client, and usually my stencils jack for like, you know, 45 minutes to an hour, sometimes longer, just because of the way that they are. And I told my client, like, look, I haven't really had a chance to do anything. I'm gonna go walk around and buy T-shirts. I made it around to Norm's booth, and he's like, hey man, we're gonna do this eyelid tat. And I was like, let's do it tomorrow. And he's like, no, I'm leaving in the morning. It's not gonna work. Like, what are you doing right now? And I was like, well, my stencil's drawing on my client. Like, check it out. And he like pulls back the curtain right there. He looks and he's like, tight. And he's like, well, sit down. Like, do it now.
Yeah.
And just it being Norm, like, I couldn't say no.
You
You know what I mean? It was just like, yes, sir.
Right. Sit down.
Okay. I'm gonna
Not
do
ask
it.
you.
Yeah. So he starts drawing just this freehand script on my eyes, and like really perfect and tiny and small. Says like hellbound, and it takes so much care in it. And I'm like, take a photo. Let me see what it looks like. He takes a picture. Shows me the picture, and I was like, definitely that client was like, gotta change it. You know what I mean? Like, I want your letters.
Yeah.
Like, I want a Norm letters and just fill in my eyelids. And he was like, oh, fuck yeah. And like, immediately, like, didn't care that he just spent all that time and like effort to draw the perfect script on my eyelid.
Right.
Wipes it right off, goes at it again, and just starts tattooing it, and just like shuts my eye and he's like, all right, you ready? Like, we'll see if this blinds you, basically. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, man.
Cool, very cool. Like, I have a huge tattoo to do after this, but we're gonna be fine, right? And he's like, I hope so. We'll check.
Right.
He starts like tattooing me, and I'm trying to like stay still, you know. But like, even if like you're trying to hold your eyes closed, like they shake.
It's
I don't
kind
know,
of hard.
it's like a
Yeah.
thing, right?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to like look down with my eyes closed, and my eyeball keeps like going to where the needle is, and it's just like following it. And it's like the most uncomfortable sensation I've felt. And he finishes one and he takes his time with it, and it's like, it's perfect, you know? And he's like, all right, open your eyes. And I like, open it, and it's like blurry, real blurry at first. And he's like, can you see? I'm like, yeah, yeah, let's do the other one. Cool. So he runs it, and we take a picture, and then what ends up happening is my fucking eyelids swell up immediately, turn black, and are like bleeding a little bit.
Shit.
I'm like, tight, dude. I'm gonna go tattoo this fucking 12-hour tattoo now. And I walk around with like the few t-shirts that I had gotten or whatever, and like go up in my booth.
So your client was still there
And
waiting
my,
for you.
yeah, my client's just sitting there and like looks at me and is like, what the fuck happened? And like, I don't know that my eyes have swollen and turned black. And I'm like, oh, nothing. I just got them tattooed. Like, see? And he's like, okay, all right. And then my booth mate, Creature, like looks at me and just starts laughing and is like, what the fuck did you just do? And it's like, basically like, takes out a makeup mirror and shows me, and it looks brutal. It looks like somebody rocked me twice.
Yeah, it sounds pretty brutal.
And I was like, well, no, I'll be fine. I'm trying to convince them that I'm going to be fine. And I finally, like, settle everybody down, whatever, and I do my tattoo. And, you know, I'm, like, sitting there tattooing, and I'm going through all these new feelings of having their eyes tattooed. And then like starting to bleed and like having to go take a break and wash them, and that tattoo ended up taking me like 12 hours, and they like closed the whole convention around you on Sunday in Albuquerque.
Okay.
So bail doesn't make anybody like stop tattooing, which is like one of my other favorite parts about that convention. They will literally cut the plastic around you and break down the whole place. So at 1:32 in the morning, I'm still tattooing this guy. The whole convention room is empty except for me, Cryptic Tattoo, and this other guy like down the way tattooing. And I'm just like, man, this is crazy. This is so awesome. The craziest, like, most funniest experience I ever had.
Yeah.
And then it just meant so much more to me that I got to get that from Norm, like when I did.
Yeah.
You know, 'cause if it wouldn't have been then, it would have never happened.
Right.
So, and you know, like we were talking about it before, it definitely showed me it was like one of those things like if you want to do something, like just do it. Like go out and do it. You know. Again, like Chaco's words, just singing loud and clear, and they're like, just do it.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to take action, man. Can't wait for the next day to come, because the next day may not come.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. All right, Chris, man. Well, it was an honor and a pleasure, sir, to sit with you this afternoon. Man, you were not only a great tattoo artist, but you were definitely a great guy and a good humanitarian as well. And it's good to see that you have that passion for what you do.
Thanks.
So if anybody come to you, they're not just coming to get, they're not just coming to somebody who's not passionate, who doesn't care. You obviously care about what you do and just and things just in life in general. So we definitely appreciate you taking the time to kick it with Inkgeeks today, man.
Yeah, thank you. I love you guys. This is is a great opportunity for me too, man.
All right,
I really
dope.
appreciate it. Thank you.